She was married, faithful, and she trusted her bed. So when she became pregnant, nobody questioned it. Not until her husband swore he had not touched her. This is not a love story. This is not a dream. This is the story of a woman who discovered that something else had learned how to come to her at night. A woman who trusted her marriage and paid for it with a child that was never meant to be born. Adiz had been married for 6 years. Her life wasn't rich, but it wasn't poor either. It was just stable. Her husband, Kunal, worked the night shift at a private warehouse on the outskirts of town. Some weeks, he would return home very late. On other nights, he'd sleep over near his workplace to save himself the long journey back. This was their normal. In Nigeria, things like this happen. People adjust. So Adiz adjusted. She cooked her meals, she said her prayers, and she waited. And on the nights Kunal didn't return, she slept alone in their marital bed. Or so she thought. It started softly, almost unnoticeably. Adiz would wake up in the middle of the night, sensing a presence beside her. The distinct weight of a body pressing into the mattress. The familiar warmth she recognized as her husband's. Sometimes she would hear Kunal's voice whisper her name, soft and low. At other times, she'd feel a hand gently brush against her arm. But in the morning, when she mentioned it, Kunal would always deny coming home. "My love, are you sure you weren't just dreaming?" he would ask with a concerned smile. Adiz would laugh it off. After all, who doubts their own husband? But the visits continued. Always at night, always silent, always familiar. Adiz began to notice something strange. The presence never spoke more than a few words. It never turned on the light. It never stayed until morning. Yet, her body reacted as if nothing was wrong, welcoming the familiar touch. Soon after, she started feeling tired all the time, nauseous in the mornings. Something inside her felt different. When Adiz finally told Kunal she thought she might be pregnant, he laughed out loud. "Ah, that's impossible," he said, shaking his head. "I've barely been home these past few weeks." To be sure, they went to the hospital. The test came back positive. The doctor smiled warmly at them. Kunal did not. The drive home was filled with a silence so thick it felt like smoke, choking the air in their small car. That night, Kunal slept facing the wall, his back a rigid line of denial. And for the very first time, the presence returned while Kunal was still in the house. Adiz started to notice patterns, terrifying rules to this nightly game. The presence only came after midnight. It always vanished before the first light of dawn, and it seemed to avoid prayers. One night, she tried to pray out loud, her voice trembling in the dark. As she spoke, the very air in the room grew heavy and cold, like something was listening, displeased. Her dreams became crowded with shadows, dark figures standing in the corners of her vision. Voices called to her, using names she had never heard before. And her stomach was growing faster than normal, way too fast. Desperate, she went to an elderly woman at a local prayer house. The woman listened quietly as Adiz poured out her story, her eyes full of wisdom. Then, she asked 3 simple questions. Does it come only at night? Does it avoid the light? And does your husband swear it is not him? When Adiz tearfully nodded yes to all 3, the woman's face grew stern. "My child," she said, "some things do not need permission when they find a place that feels familiar." She warned Adiz, "Do not sleep alone. Do not answer any voices you hear at night. And no matter what, do not open your eyes when you feel the presence." But it was already too late. One night, Adiz woke up to the sound of breathing. It was deep, slow, and patient. She felt the bed sink beside her. But this time, ignoring the old woman's warning, she opened her eyes. Kunal was asleep on a mat across the room. The thing lying beside her had no clear face. It was just a shape, a shadow that had borrowed the feeling of familiarity. When she finally found her voice and screamed, it vanished instantly, leaving behind nothing but cold air and a deafening silence. The next morning, she started bleeding. But the baby did not leave. At the hospital, the ultrasound showed something no one could explain. The doctor stared at the screen, his face pale, and refused to speak. The nurse quickly made the sign of the cross over her chest. The elderly prayer woman came to the hospital and said quietly, "This is not a child of flesh alone. She explained that certain entities can imitate love, marriage, and intimacy. They feed on trust, not on force. They choose women who feel safe in their homes. Married women, praying women, women who will not question a familiar presence in their bed. The pregnancy did not reach full term. What left Adesi's body that day left scars that never fully healed. Her marriage, built on a trust that had been violated by something unseen, collapsed under the weight of it all. Her nights never returned to being silent. Her bed was never a safe place again. Even today, Adese sleeps with the light on, because sometimes, when the room is dark and quiet, she still feels the bed sink beside her, and she hears the sound of breathing that knows her name. In this life, not everything that feels familiar actually belongs to you. And not everything that comes to you in the guise of love is human. Some stories are meant to be whispered, not told. Have you ever heard a story like this? Or experienced strange encounters in the night yourself? Share your thoughts respectfully in the comments. Thanks for listening.